The following is brought to you by the People's National Party.
Make the trumpets play. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. To get champion, we can do it together. When we look to the future of precipice, we see Jamaica needs the vision of the PNP. People said the bag of promises, them can't carry go shop. And the crime rate getting higher, wonder when it does now come Rex. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. To get champion.
The proceeding was brought to you by the People's National Party. The following is brought to you by the People's National Party.
Make the trumpets play. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. To get champion, we can do it together. When we look to the future of precipice, we see Jamaica needs the vision of the PNP. People said the bag of promises, them can't carry go shop. And the crime rate getting higher, wonder when it does now come Rex. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. To get champion.
The proceeding was brought to you by the People's National Party.
Hello, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to those in television land. Happy Tuesday to our silent supporters. Happy Tuesday to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope everyone is having a wonderful and blessed week so far. Remember, guys, to thumbs up the live when you come in. Share us out if you can. And if you're new to the channel, please show us some support by subscribing. That will be greatly appreciated. So tonight's topic is all of this for 30 pieces of silver, no IC report tabled, and JLP distractions. With your host, Byron, and somebody said sidekick Anne-Marie. Okay, let me just go ahead and welcome those in the chat. Let me just go through quick because it's a list. Young'uns, Carl Singh, Truck Life, Bless Up, Beverly, Dorothy McCoy, Dolores Logan, Laris Beckford, Don Mel, Petra Alexander, Noreen McLean, Jeanette Letts, Natalia Freeman, Marcia Mirage, Sonia Foster, Barbara Finley, Rennie Swaby, Patel Cruikshank, Wayne Evans, Cheerful Wild Horse, Duran Clark, John Plew, Donna Whitaker, Fiona Holness, Alicia Wigan, Burris White, Duran Clark, Michelle Johnson, Malid Bowman, Maureen Vassell, Donna Whitaker, Carla Ibanks, Andy Braham, Elga Fletcher, Brittany L, Ned Ball, Creative Minds, G Angel, Lynette Jenkins, Reggae Girl, GQ Powell, Liza Wood, Carol Gale, Louis Longshaw, Odd James.
Don
I called Don Mel already.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Dave. Welcome. Happy Friday. Happy Tuesday. Sorry. All right. So as we go along, Florence Brown, welcome. Bless up yourself. So bless up yourself to everyone. Without any further delays, I'm going to hand over to Byron, who will start the discussion.
Thank you, honey. Thank you for that wonderful precursor, as always. Right. We want to say a big thanks to all of our subscribers who continue to following us, continue to believe in us. And as I said, without you, right? I mean, we are not significant, right? You are the sole purpose why, we are striving for a better tomorrow and, a better future for all Jamaicans. Now, let me say this to, the diaspora and Jamaicans locally. The Jamaica Labour Party, as we know it, as it relates to Andrew Holness administration, I'm going to say a precursor before I start anything, because tonight is different. Tonight is different. The reason why tonight is different is that we are going to address the real issues, and we are going to bring it forth in such a chronological sequence where everyone can simply understand. So let me begin by saying, right, to Andrew Holness, and in extension his administration, that Andrew Holness administration is in a conundrum. Yes. Now we have seen where certain narrative has come out via, of course, Cliff Hughes' channel. And so then let me try to explain that situation. Now, Cliff Hughes doesn't have a choice in terms of defending the Jamaica Labour Party, whether they are wrong or right. Cliff Hughes has been backed into a corner. The corner that Cliff Hughes backed in is to the fact that Cliff Hughes owed, of course, several amount of tax dollars, right, to the government. And of course, Cliff Hughes want to, get some leniency where that is concerned. Cliff Hughes know that if and when, right, the opposition, right, comes in power, Cliff Hughes know that the opposition is not going to be tolerable for him to be dodging tax and not paying tax. Now, before I go any further, I want to say, big up brother Rattigan. Tonight is a very important night. We know that Mario will be joining us early. So let me just give you the opportunity to greet your subscribers. My subscribers or your subscribers, sir. To greet the family. Let me give you that opportunity to greet the family.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, Marie. Big up yourself, Byron. All of the people and our people and our family members
Exactly.
in the chat. And all of the people who watch and enjoy the program. Big up on yourself. Welcome. It's my greatest pleasure to be here. There are many things going on tonight, but I'd much rather be here, and that's why I'm here. The other things we can read about them later on, But no, we have important things to talk about. And when Byron gave me that call and said, listen, I need you.
Yes.
My only duty was to say, I'll be there.
Thank you.
That's it. So, thanks for the invitation again. And again, it's my pleasure to be here.
All the time.
I love having you.
All the time. All right. So as I was saying, that Andrew Holness and his administration in a conundrum. Now, let us make it clear that as we speak tonight, Andrew Holness' statutory declaration has not been certified. Let me repeat that. As we speak, Andrew Holness' statutory declaration cannot be certified either, and has not been certified. Now, since we get that out of the room, and we see, certain media came out, want to get in front of the narrative and want to shape a narrative, right, without anticipating the ruling, right, as it relates to, Parliament make its decision, right, by tabling, right, the report. and we have seen that obviously a breach of protocol, a breach of policy, and a breach within the law as it relates to Cliff Hughes came out, right, and speak on whatever he so-called spoke on, right? But we know that, of course, what Cliff Hughes came out with is less than 1/10 of what is transpiring. Now, so let me say this, that the investigation as it relates to the Integrity Commission, Cliff Hughes, right, and those naysayers cannot spin it as it centers around 4 accounts. So I'm going to set the room clear tonight. It has nothing to do with Andrew Holness' mother's account. It has nothing to do with Andrew Holness' father's account, right? Or anyone else who attached to the account. Andrew Holness and Juliet Holness, they are the prime subject of this investigation. What is it? The Integrity Commission investigators are investigating. They are investigating illicit enrichment. So people, let us get this. They are investigating illicit enrichment. What is illicit enrichment? Based on the Integrity Commission responsibility, right, to have supervised as it relates to the members of parliament, assets, income, and liability, and where that asset, income, and liability is showing variations or variances as it relates to their wealth that they amass. So let us get this out of the way. What the Integrity Commission is investigating is illicit enrichment as it relates to their asset, income, and liability, right, is unable to justify their wealth or the wealth that they amassed. Let us drag back this. So then, when we are speaking, what are the reasons the Integrity Commission, this part is very important in terms of what I'm going to say. What is the reason or reasons the Integrity Commission is investigating Andrew? Let me say this as it relates to Andrew Holness, right, response in terms of him explaining how he amassed that wealth. 3 things that we are going to look on. Andrew Holness claimed that he amassed that wealth as it relates to supply credit, loans, and mortgages, as it relates to explaining, right, his apartment complex at the Beverly Hills that near value $200 million. So we want to get it out of the way. So then the target of the investigation is going to have an understanding of how Andrew Holness is explaining how he amassed the wealth, and the Integrity Commission is going to investigate as it relates to what Andrew Holness is responding to as it relates to how he amassed his wealth, right? Suppliers credit, loans, and mortgage. Let me say this tonight. Andrew Holness is in a conundrum, right? He's in a deep mess in terms of explaining that. So, Big Mama, let me talk to you. This has nothing to do with any 4 accounts, right, that you are running out there with narrative and make it look as if, okay, all right, it centers around 4 accounts. And so then the corruption prosecutor, right, has not seen any reason to charge Andrew Holness as it relates to, you're talking about $300,000. It has nothing to do with that. Now we clearly here, we are going to show something. Now let us show how Andrew Holness, right, want to shape the narrative. And so then, since Andrew Holness want to shape the narrative, let us go, because tonight we are going through the details and we are going to make sure that everyone can see it clearly as it relates to Andrew Holness' statutory declaration uncertified. So let us go to our first document. To show you, what we are going to show you is to show you how Andrew Holness-led government try to control the narrative, right, and shape it in a way, right? And so then when they shape it in a way using Big Mama to shape the narrative, we realize that, right, Parliament today has not tabled, right, the report. Now, we here on social media, we are watching, we are observing as it relates to the narrative that they paint and how long that they are going to take to table the report so people can have the truth. Andrew Holness, you're not going to get away in terms of create smoke screens, in terms of what you're doing. Tonight, we are going to shape it down for you and let you understand clear. You understand where the corruption lies. Without any delay, let us get to the first document, Corruption Nightmare, as it relates to how they want to shape the narrative.
There.
Now, here it is, people. The Jamaica Observer. And let me say this, as it relates to who own the Jamaica Observer, right? Owned by the Stuarts. And of course, they are capitalists. And of course, they would want to see Andrew Holness government remain in power. Because when Andrew Holness government is in power, right, the capitalists benefit. Let us put that out of the air. Corruption Nightmare, as according to the Jamaica Observer. 5 PNP, 3 GLP politicians reported to Integrity Commission for illicit enrichment. These are the sort of lies, misinformation, disinformation that they want to throw out there. Let us get into it. Months-long probe by the Jamaica Observer has uncovered that at least 3 politicians linked to the governing Jamaica Labour Party and 5 linked to the opposition People's National Party have been referred to the Director of Investigation at the Integrity Commission following allegations of corruption, illicit enrichment. In almost all of the cases, the allegations have been made to the IC by people who claim, here, listen carefully, people. This is to tell you that they have no real source of information. The IC by people who claim to have information surrounding acts of corruption, illicit enrichment, but there is no, hear what they are saying, people? Hear the conjunction? But there is no documentation to support these allegations based on the observer probe. So let me ask you, observer, I'm not going to go further into the, this document. Based on what you said here, and you're talking about good investigative journalism, you said here, but there is no documentation to support these allegations. So why are you... Yes, so why are you publishing this, observer? Why are you publishing this? You admitted right here that there is no documentation to support these allegations based on the observer probe. So you probe and you decide, right, to propagandize, right? That's what you do. No evidence to suggest, but you are there now to just, you know, cloud, right, the whole situation. And this is the level of corruption. And this goes to show the systematic corruption as it relates to some mainstream media who sit silent and want Andrew Holness and his minions, right, to put their fingers in the treasury, right? Rob taxpayers and get away with it. Take away that.
Florence is saying, if you look carefully at the Article 2, there is no name to the document.
Exactly.
You don't even know who it is coming from.
Exactly. So take that document away. We just want to highlight that as it relates to, right, Andrew Holness, right, evil in extension. And let me say this before, because we are going to reveal some things tonight. The investigation that I had done, I'm going to show people that from the onset that Andrew Holness ventured into politics, right, the political system flag him as someone corrupted. We are going to reveal the document, right, as it relates to his political career. The very first entrance in the political process, the political system flagged Andrew Holness as a corrupter. The very first entry. We are going to show that tonight. Now, let us move as it relates to good leadership, checks and balance, honesty and integrity that goes against, right, refuting what we have just seen. Without any delay, let us listen to the opposition leader making clarification as to what transpired. Tonight, we are going to take it down nice and easy.
The following is a release from the People's National Party Media Unit.
I wish to address an article published by the Jamaica Observer today, which is filled with speculation, innuendo, and unfounded allegations. The article claims to report on an investigation involving 8 politicians, it says, from the JLP and PNP. The Observer article states that, and I quote, "In almost all of the cases, the allegations have been made to the Integrity Commission by people who claim to have information surrounding acts of corruption or illicit enrichment, but there is no documentation to support these allegations," end quote. In other words, malicious stories may have been concocted and sent to the Integrity Commission for partisan political reasons without any foundation whatsoever. I want the public to note that this reporting by the Jamaica Observer is entirely separate from the 8 sitting members of Parliament cited by the Integrity Commission for illicit enrichment. The allegations reported by the Observer article are not part of the ongoing investigation by the Integrity Commission into the 8 MPs who are accused of illicit enrichment. In my view, this is a blatant attempt to confuse and mislead the public. I want to be clear. As leader of the opposition, I directly consulted with all sitting members of Parliament and senators of the People's National Party. And in these discussions, every parliamentarian from the PNP has confirmed to me that they are not aware of being investigated by the Integrity Commission for illicit enrichment. The PNP firmly maintains its position that any parliamentarian, from whatever side, who is guilty of the offense of illicit enrichment should face the full force of the law. They should be dismissed from public office and should never hold public office again. The PNP stands resolute in its commitment to transparency, accountability, and good governance. I urge the public to remain vigilant and recognize this report for what it is, a deliberate distraction from the Integrity Commission's investigations into the 8 MPs who have been identified for illicit enrichment. We want to know who they are, and we look forward to the reports coming to Parliament and being made public. This is a serious moment in Jamaica's political history, and I urge all Jamaicans to rely on credible, verified information rather than allowing partisan media outlets to distort the truth.
Visit our website at pnp.org.jm or check us out on Facebook.
All right. So let me say something to Andrew Holness and his minions. Because we know, right, that any information, right, that Big Mama have, right, it came from JLP. So what Andrew Holness and his minions had done, right, was they themselves breach the law. And you are going to hear hypocritical Andrew Holness now, right, coming out after he set up what he needs to set up, right, to create breach in the space. And then, right, he's coming out that he's concerned about the breaches. Andrew Holness, what you need to concern about is that as we speak, sir, your statutory declaration, sir, has not been certified. That is concerning. That is what you ought to concern about. Anyway, we are juggling. Let us play and hear what Andrew Holness has to say. Don't sit tight, Brother Rattigan, because when we call you in, you know, say the place. All right. Okay, so let us cruise in. Hear what Andrew Holness has to say.
And let's be concerned about the leak.
All right. Now let us read, people. Right? Holness concerned about the leak. He doesn't concern about his statutory declarations not being certified. And why should he? He doesn't care. Holness concerned about leak of Integrity Commission reports after you orchestrated, Andrew Holness. You orchestrated. Prime Minister Andrew Holness said he is concerned about the disclosure of information from Integrity Commission reports, which are yet to be tabled in Parliament. What you want to do now? Blame the Integrity Commission, right? Utilize your delayed tactics. What is in the Integrity Commission report, right? We need for it to be tabled. So these are tactics. Are you now going to drag out this to talk about breach? You understand? We are watching you, Andrew Holness. Let me say that to you. Last Thursday, the Commission submitted to Parliament an investigation report, an indicative ruling, and a special report stating its anticipation that the investigation report, which was submitted pursuant to a conformance with Section 54 of the Integrity Commission Act, together with the reference indicative ruling, full ruling, and Section 36, subsection 3, special report, will be tabled in the Parliament as soon as possible. So, Andrew Holness, we see that you're coming up with your derricks, right, of your minions, you understand, making report on matters that they're not supposed to be report on, and I'm speaking specifically to Big Mama, right? And now you turn around, right, speaking on those breaches. You are just a hypocrite, which Jamaica don't know that you're a hypocrite. This was followed days later by an addendum to its investigative report. The Commission, in the media release, said it received a 6-page third-party witness statement 1 day after it submitted the investigation report to Parliament last week. The Commission say the third-party witness statement, this is what you must be troubled about, Andrew Holness. The Commission says the third-party witness statement is germane to the investigation report. All right, let us take that away. Now, we are going to get into the matters as fast as possible. We are getting there. Now, let us go to Integrity Commission. What we are going to do is to show you that Integrity Commission, what they are saying that, okay, as it relates to what Andrew Holness is talking about, right, want to talk about breaches, Integrity Commission is saying clearly that they have not spoken to anyone. They have not spoken to anyone. And you know what? Rattigan and I, we are going to speak a little bit before we move on again. Now, as a matter of fact, hold on, Rattigan, let me read what the Integrity Commission is saying clearly, that that breach is not coming from them. And then we speak on that other matter. Bring up this document, Integrity Commission of Jamaica. Let us bring up that. right? Share to 200. Okay. So people, let us read as it relates to the Integrity Commission response, right? Because let me tell you this. I am telling Andrew Holness that he's in a conundrum. September 10, 2024, statement of the chairman and commissioners of the Integrity Commission. On Thursday, September 5th, 2024, the Integrity Commission submitted an investigation report, ruling and special report to Parliament. That report, ruling and special report, have not yet been tabled. Since the submission to Parliament, there has, however, been extensive public commentary, right, from Big Mama in relation to the purported contents of the report and ruling. The Integrity Commission wishes to remind the public, including media houses, that it is a breach of Section 53, subsection 3 of the Integrity Commission Act to report or make any public statement on an untabled investigation report, which Big Mama did. So obviously, Cliff Hughes had breached Section 53, subsection 3, right? Read as follows. And let us look what Section 53, subsection 3 is saying. Until the tabling in Parliament of a report under Section 36. All matters under investigation by the Director of Investigation or any other persons involved in such an investigation shall be kept confidential, and no report or public statement shall be made by the Commission or any other person in relation to the initiation or conduct of an investigation under this Act. Take this away. Take that away. Now, let me go to the panel. Brother Rattigan, as it is with Section 53, subsection 3, right, speaking in regards of no one, right, or the entity that highlighted there should not be speaking on any of its content until it's tabled. So clearly, we have seen that Cliff Hughes are, let me ask you, Brother Rattigan, would you say that Cliff Hughes is in breach of Section 53, subsection 3? Go ahead and let me hear.
Definitely. He is. Or whoever, not just him, but whoever speaks about an investigation conducted by the Director of Investigation without it being tabled, they run afoul of 53.3.
Yes.
Now, the problem I have with the Act, and everybody was heard me, anybody was heard me speak about the Integrity Commission Act of 2017, know that I have serious problems with this law. It's severely flawed. It has a lot of loopholes in it. For example, okay, 53.3, we say, okay, the Mr. Hughes has breached this. The question is, what are the consequences? I haven't seen any consequences in this. What I've seen in this act is consequences for people who work for the Integrity Commission. If they breach, then they can serve up to a year in prison or up to $1 million in fine. But for somebody who's outside of the Integrity Commission, unless somebody can point it to me, and I'm open to being fully corrected, I haven't seen it. So while it's saying that, yeah, there's a violation, the question is, okay, so what's the next step? What are you going to do if there's a violation?
Yes, what is the consequence?
And as far as I can see, there's nothing in there to address this. If it's proven that the leak came from somebody within the Integrity Commission, then there is a penalty for that. That person will suffer some consequences. But going back to your original question, whether or not Mr. Hughes violated 53.3, unquestionably, yes, he did.
Okay. All right. Let us. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to ask, Swati.
Well, actually, you know what? What Mr. Hughes said was that he put out a disclaimer. He said, I haven't seen the report. But then he proceeded to talk about the report. If you go back and you play it, he'll say, I'm choosing my words carefully.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'm choosing my words carefully because me no see it. That's what he said. But then he went on to speak about it. But then there's another reporter. There's a reporter who came on and he quoted the corruptions prosecutor from the report. So obviously somebody has their hands on that report. And you could reason that if somebody at Nationwide has it, then by extension, everybody has it at the radio station. You could make that argument.
All right.
But that's where we are.
But we are making certain just our own opinion now as it relates to who the report was sent to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's sent to Juliet Holness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eli Clark,
yeah.
right? Tom Tavares, for instance,
right? and the clerk,
and others, and yes, and the clerk.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, if the Integrity Commission is saying clearly and categorically, right, saying that that breach didn't come from us, then it would be now just, fair to look on those four.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be, as it relates to, the breach, persons who have access to the report?
Well, here's the thing: if I were put in charge of this, me not trust nobody. So what am I going to do? Yes. I am going to polygraph the director of investigation. I'm going to polygraph the complaint and information person. I'm going to polygraph the corruption prosecutor. And if need be, polygraph the members of the commission. Exactly. Then you polygraph the 4 people outside the Integrity Commission to whom the report was released. But I'm not taking anybody's word for it to say, well, then, I didn't leak it. That's not good enough for me.
Yeah.
We have to, and to be fair, you have to do it across the board. But somebody leaked that report. Somebody leaked it.
Okay. All right. Andrew Holness break his silence about his statutory declaration. Let us see what Andrew Holness has to say where that is concerned. Right? We are getting closer to the investigation that we are going to dig into.
Morning again. So since we're waiting on Haiti, just a quick question. Has there been any discussion within the cabinet about possibly tabling the Integrity Commission reports ahead of the Parliament officially coming back? I believe it's on the 17th.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. And I figured you were going to ask that question too. And so essentially in cabinet, we didn't discuss that. That was not discussed at cabinet at all. In terms of the tabling of reports, that's a matter for the Speaker of the House, as you would recognize. And so that will be done at the appropriate time, and we don't plan to comment on it until it is tabled in Parliament. And I ask you to stand for our Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness.
Good morning, everyone. Please. I didn't get to hear what Minister Dana Morris Dixon said. Did she say that I can't comment? Yes, that's what I said. Well, I do take note of the tabling of reports. I believe one of them has to do with my statutory declarations. I'm pleased that they are now before the Parliament, and I am equally anxious to have them tabled so that I can address them publicly. But that is not the purpose of my visits with you today. My visits are becoming more frequent. I think so as well. I have 2 matters to discuss with you.
No offense, but...
All right. So the Prime Minister skillfully make a quick U-turn there, right? Doesn't want to deal with that statutory declaration thing and seeking a bailout. What you say, Rottigan? Because we are going to get into the deep investigation.
Well, we don't know what they submitted. I think 4 reports and a letter, right? We don't know what's contained in them. I certainly don't know what's contained in them. I have to see them for myself because I'm not going to go by what some people are out there propagating. But the thing is, it doesn't necessarily mean that all 3 statutory submissions will be addressed in whatever reports they've sent to the Parliament. It could be only one. It could be the one from 2021, or it could be 2, 2021, 2022, or it could be all 3. We don't know. So he's saying, well, it's my statutory declaration. I wasn't quite sure if he said it in the singular or plural, but I'm just curious, as everybody is, to see what's contained in those reports, because the idea that you would send the reports to the Deputy Speaker of the House speaks volumes. Because the only time I think, and again, I'm open, subject to being fully corrected. The only time we've seen that was when the former Speaker of the House was in trouble, Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, and then it was sent to the deputy. This is, I think, the second time. So if we're following that line of reasoning, it would suggest that the Speaker is in some trouble. And then with the report, some of the reports are connected, like they did a 36, I think it was a 36-3 investigation, which they're allowed to do on their own.
Yes.
Right. And they said that was connected to one of the other reports. So it's confusing, it's mind-blowing. People are waiting with bated breath to see what the reports will reveal. But if it's true, based on what we've heard, that the corruption prosecutor declined to prosecute the Prime Minister for the bank accounts upon which his name appears,
right.
I have some serious problems with that. And I believe somebody was saying that she said, because it's so much hearsay, that she's saying, or she wrote that she didn't want to prosecute because it would be tough for her to prove intent. And I'm saying, because she said the evidence wasn't strong enough, and I'm saying, what more evidence do you need than to look at the regulations in Jamaica, where the banking regulations, where or internal or otherwise, where they say, in order for you to be on somebody's bank account, then you have to come to the bank. You have to come to the bank and sign.
Yes.
Now, did the Prime Minister go to the bank and sign on all those 4 accounts? Because if he didn't, then that's a violation of their internal policy. Because I know that, Baron, if you go down there, you try that and you put Anne-Marie on it and you say, no, I'll put Anne-Marie on it and I just want to give you her name. They'll say, no. She has to come here, right? Exactly. So the Prime Minister did that. And if he didn't do it, then why was his name? Why does his name appear on the 4 accounts? There's so many questions to ask. And so far, I don't think there's anyone who has given us the answers yet, but we will, in the fullness of time, we will get to the answers. But I'm sure you have something up your sleeve. I see you grinning there. I know you have something up your sleeves.
Yes, I am laughing, Ratty, because you know what? Right about now, I want to put you on the spot a little bit.
Sure.
Right? Now, I want you to put your shoes, put yourself into the Integrity Commission investigator's shoes. And you are dealing with Andrew Holness' case, right? Because we see that they are using 4 accounts, and we know that, to me, that's the destruction, right? The target of the investigation, when I started tonight, I said, you're looking on, Ratty, income, assets, and liability. Said you are the lead investigator. Andrew Holness, in terms of when you question Andrew Holness, interviewed him, he give you the reason as to how he amassed that wealth. Right? So we're going to dig into some things tonight. And the reasons, he gave you 3 significant reasons as to why he amassed the wealth. One was supplier's credit, and I need to write it down because I don't want to forget it. I'm going to go into it tonight. Supplier's credit, loans, and of course, mortgage. What I want to prove tonight to the people of Jamaica and in the diaspora, that don't pay any attention to the 4 accounts. And if the Integrity Commission, you understand, narrow down their investigation to 4 accounts, we are going to redirect the Integrity Commission tonight. Because, Ratty, the Prime Minister said to you, right? You know that what you are looking at, you understand the allegation where the Prime Minister house, right, based on evaluator and evaluation report, right, the cost near $200 million. So the house is one. You are also looking on Juliet Holness development, right? That at the current market value when she reported that situation in court was $800 million. And his 2021 statutory declaration, right, is showing a total amount of $171 million. Where would you lead your investigation, Ratty?
Well, first thing is
that I said to you.
Hmm?
Consider everything that I said to you as it relates to supplier's credit, loans, and mortgage. So where would you lead your investigation?
Well, the first thing you start with how we started. You started,
Exactly.
okay, where your first job. How much did you earn? How much did you pay out? Did you have student loans? Did you have a house, a mortgage? Did you have credit cards? Did you have a vehicle? You owe anybody? Then you got married. Did you commingle funds with your wife? Did you have a joint account? And did you maintain separate accounts even after having a joint account? Then you look at his wife. Where did she start? How much money did you? Because all of these you can get from the tax administrator.
Yes.
And remember now, as the Integrity Commission, you have a right to those documents in the pursuit of your investigation. So I would do all of that background, and so you start looking at overseas accounts. You start looking at wire transfers coming and going. You start looking at gifts. Did anybody give him anything? You start looking at whether there was a bequest to him, somebody dead and gave him something. You start looking at whether him win the lottery. You start looking at the various avenues whereby he could legitimately claim this money.
Okay.
And here's why I would spend the time to do all that, because when I sit down with him to interview him, there will be only one interview. He's not coming back for a second bite at the apple. And every question I ask him, I already know the answer.
Okay.
So that's how I would start it, from right there. Then of course, you start looking at his relatives, you start looking at his friends, you start looking at his connections, you start looking at all of those things. And the banking stuff, again, all of this stuff, and let me just pivot a little bit and say, the reason why I agree with everybody saying that the 4 bank accounts, they're a distraction, because a distraction, because if the Integrity Commission spent 3 years to come up with the 4 bank accounts in the same bank, in the same country. And if they did that, and then with SSL, because they mentioned that, oh, he took money out of a financial institution, and they brought somebody in from overseas, a financial auditor, and he said everything was above board. If it take them 3 years to do that, then we need to disband the Integrity Commission.
Okay.
I have a son, 13 years old. He has no training in conducting investigations or conducting interviews or interrogation. But I can tell you this. I give him this case and said, look at this. I guarantee you that within a month, he will have found the 4 accounts, because you know why? There's something called common sense.
Common sense.
There's
Yes.
something called common sense. And if you're going to say, okay, we're going to look at this man for illicit enrichment. If we're going to look upon him then for how him getting money, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start looking at the banks, you're going to start looking at his properties, you're going to look at his possessions. And I'm certain my 13-year-old son would have found them 4 bank accounts within a month. So the question is, why take the Integrity Commission 3 years to come up with that? If that is the only thing they come up with. And I don't believe that's the only thing. I don't believe that's the only thing.
No. Hell no. Right? Because the fact of the matter, as we speak, is that their declaration has not been certified, and that is evidence. Now,
correct.
What we are going to prove tonight, we are going to prove the blatant corruption, right? As it relates to our investigation. We are going to convict Andrew Holness tonight based on what we are going to do, right? And we are going to track him, right? Do the live tracking and let the people see. Now, we are going to, what I want the people to understand, that what we are doing, right, is to track all of what Andrew Holness stated, Andrew Holness' lawyer stated, as it relates to the source of income, right, as it relates to how he amassed his wealth. And, of course, we are going to put them together, right, and make people, right, a holistic understanding of what we are doing tonight. Now, the first document that we are going to show, we are going to go to an interview that Andrew Holness did with Nationwide, and explaining at the time to Nationwide that he came into the politics with $47 million. No, so we are going to interview. So here is Andrew Holness and Nationwide, and I'm going to bring up the document to show people what Andrew Holness said, and we are going to track every bit of that. We are going to break it down tonight to the finest details. And when I finish, right, everyone know that Andrew Holness' statutory declaration cannot be certified. Now, let us go to the first document. Holness make finance public. Let us go to the first document. All right, Sister Daisy, welcome to the floor. Right.
Sure.
I want to allow you the opportunity, Sister Daisy.
Hey, thank you, my brother. Brother Rattigan, why you yawning as soon as I come on? Listen, it's good to see you, Mystic Sensation. Rattigan, I always just love to see you in the space. Love seeing you in the space, you know? Yeah. Much blessings and guidance. Yes. Yeah, and to everybody in the chat, a wonderful good night. You know, the debate is going on, so I'm kind of, you know, but the show must go on, because Andrew too lie, not no go so. I was listening to you earlier, Rattigan, talk about spending all this time and all this money for $384,000. I would have talked to Nanny Goat. No go so. No go so. Yeah, go through, my brother, go through.
All right, so Sister Mara, yes, we are going to, and people, the viewers, we are going to break down everything tonight in detail for all Jamaicans to understand what is happening with Andrew Holness' statutory declaration. Let us get to the first document, right? Thank you, wifey, doing a good job. Now, Here it is, and this is 17th of June 2016. Holness makes finance public, posted by Abka Fitz-Henley. Let us get into this. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he has assets valued at just over $151 million. His liabilities currently amount to just under $35 million. Holness disclosed his total assets and liability this afternoon in an interview with Nationwide News, the Gleaner and the Observer newspaper. Mr. Holness is the first Jamaican Prime Minister to publicly declare his assets and liabilities since P.J. Patterson made his declaration public in 2002. Mr. Holness made available to the media today his last 10 Integrity Commission's declarations. They date from 2007, when he first became minister, and now. The Integrity Commission declaration showed that just before Holness, people take keen note of this paragraph. The Integrity Commission declaration showed that just before Holness became a minister 10 years ago, that is before 1997, he went into the politics 1997. So before he ventured into the politics, he had assets totaling just under 47 million. His liability in 2007 were just under 4 million. Take that away. Take that away. So people, where we are going. Now, Holness came into the political atmosphere 1997. And he had given an interview in 2016, said before he came into the political atmosphere, he came in with $47 million. Let me give a people the rundown before we get to Andrew Holness' political career. Andrew Holness, right, graduated from university in 1994 and owed student loan and worked 2 years for charity. 2 years for charity. And so then, within that 2 years for charity, we are asking the question, where on God's earth, Andrew Holness, that $47 million. What we are going to do tonight, we are going to play a videotape with his wife, going contrary to what Andrew Holness said, that he brought in $47 million in, right, the political system, while his wife, you understand, they got married in 1997, the wife going contrary against what Andrew Holness said, that they did not have any money. Evidence number one, we are going to play tonight. Lift up that video. Let us lift up that video, and we are going to investigate everything that Andrew Holness said.
I was born in my husband's constituency. I think I was actually born at the hospital, Andrews Memorial Hospital it was. Yeah, at the time. But grew up at a very early age in Ensom City and went to Ensom City all age and then on to St. Catherine High School. I remember even being at Ensom City all age, being a very industrious little child. My parents would send me to school, they would give me my lunch money, but I would be buying police button and selling them to get extra money from early days. So I remember being at St. Catherine High School and leaving school, walking from St. John's Road to Spanish Town. I did it often. I walked from Ensom City to St. Catherine High to save money again. Even though I got my lunch money and I got my taxi fare, I always felt that other than paying my school fee and giving me my uniform and my books, I should be able to do all the other little things. If I need geometry set, if they're doing something for sports day, I should be able to chip in. My dad worked in a factory, zinc manufacturing factory it was. He was a supervisor there. I think the factory closed down. He was made redundant and he took his savings and went into the taxi business. So he had a bus and taxi from time to time. I would walk to Spanish Town and go and meet my mother and help her to sell. She would sell shoes and clothing, and I had no problem. I remember many times my classmates would pass, and sometimes they would see me at school and say, Juliet, you don't feel ashamed to go help your mother sell? And no, I was never ashamed. I always felt this is what is sending me to school. My mom and my dad earn an honest living, and I thought it was an excellent value to instill in me as a child. And I pitched in and made sure I sell anytime I could once school was out. If it was Christmas, I would be on to Falmouth. I love to check a lot of money. So when they went to Falmouth, I found that the sales was very good. I was collecting and selling, and I found that very exciting that my parents were able to earn in this way. My mom sort of beat it into my head since early days. Look, we are not wealthy, and the way you're going to achieve in life is to have a good education. That's really the legacy I'm passing on to you. Being educated and being able to take care of yourself. So for me, growing up as a child, I actually never had a sense of any disparity or inequity in how women and men function, because my parents function in a way where my mother was a strong woman and giving in equal ways to the partnership of taking care of and raising the family and funding our lifestyle. Myself and Andrew went to St. Catherine High School together, but I didn't like him in high school. I thought that he was just enough. He was into everything. I remember the very first Valentine's Day special that was put on at the school. Andrew organized it. He conceptualized it and he organized the Valentine's event. And I was like, who is that guy? Everything is him. I remember he was valedictorian, and I just continued to almost envy him and say, this guy is just so into everything. And I remember when he was doing his valedictory speech, I don't think I've ever told him, when he kept saying education. And I'm like, it's education. so I remember Andrew well. I was very impressed with the way he was as a young man. He was helping his mother to build her house, and I'd pass and see him up on top of the house, helping the man who was doing the grill work, the masonry, and I was like, yeah, that guy not bad at all. Right? But I remember at school thinking that he was just so enough. Everything was just this Andrew. Then he wasn't my friend. So I went to Woolmer's Girls, as I told you, for sixth form. And when it came around now to the ball at sixth form, I didn't have a date. And someone said to me, what about Andrew, the guy down the road? And I was like, not so bad. I could make him go on with me. And I said to Andrew, do you want to accompany me to my sixth form ball? I think he had a friend, Garfield, who liked me at the time. I don't know if he knew, but Andrew said yes. And at the time, as I tell you, very naive, very sheltered. I was chaperone. My uncle took us to the ball, drove us to the ball, and stayed with us at the ball and took us back home. So I had no opportunity for Andrew to get on with any hanky-panky at all. But that summer was the start of our relationship. I remember after sixth form, we spent the entire summer together. Like every waking moment, we stayed together until we fell asleep. We are very boring people, so we decided we were going to get married in 7 years. There are not many things I found that I was adamant about in a relationship, but some things I was very principled about. So I would never have a child unless I'm married. And I remember saying that we need to be able to buy a home first, need to get married, and then we can think about having children. I remember we got married 1997. We planned, I don't even know, we sat down, we talked about it. I think we decided to have our wedding in between our birthdays. I'm born on the 16th of July, he's born on the 22nd, and we chose the Sunday in between our birthdays. And we could not afford a lot, so we didn't have a wedding planner, and we could not afford a big hotel. I remember we rented Villa Renai at the time, and we had a regular chef that you would normally have in your community come and cook up the curry goat and the rice and peas at Villa Renai. And there we were married. Everybody came, like we invited all the relatives that we knew lived very far away because they would not be able to come to the wedding. They live in the UK, they live in America and Canada. But
All right.
we didn't want anybody to say that.
I'm going to stop it there. What I want the people to hear is Juliet Holness, right, speaking of their financial status, right, the very same time that Andrew Holness said, right, he came in the politics with $47 million, right? Here is Juliet Holness, right, is speaking to the contrary of that. What you gathered from that, Sister Maria, ladies before gentlemen?
Well, based on what well, you see, in that situation, she was fluid. So
Yes.
what she was saying, from what she's saying, I believe what she's saying to be the truth.
Yes.
So now, fast forward to what the Prime Minister said about coming into politics with $47 million. That's nonsense. Because remember now, he started out as a director for a not-for-profit organization. He worked for a not-for-profit organization, and then he went to work for Edward Seaga.
Yes.
So how many millions could he have made between those two jobs? You know, that really makes no sense. And he is the same one who said when he got out of college and he couldn't pay his student loans. So I don't know how he just magically got $47 million when in 2 years, yeah, when you know your wife had to do a fish fry for your wedding and and all those things. So I believe what she's saying in that interview. So I don't know how he and he didn't win the lottery. So for him to go from that to this, it is mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling.
Okay. So Ratigan, let us move to you in terms of what you decipher there between Andrew Holness giving an interview that he came in the politics with $47 million. Right, he came in 1997. In 1997, him and his wife got married, and his wife is saying something contrary there. What say you?
Remember, I was telling you when you asked me the question, what would you do if you're integrity commissioner and you're looking at this? What would you look at? Remember, I was telling you, I would start from the beginning. I'd start, okay, what was his first job? I would pull all his tax returns. Right?
Exactly.
And say, okay, let's see how much money you earned here, there, for all the years. And that would have been just the start.
Okay.
Because the idea of him coming in 2007 with 47 million and what 4 million in liability, when a few years prior they didn't have any money. In fact, she said it. We didn't have the money.
Exactly.
And she was hoping. She said just not to offend the family. She was sending out the invitation, but hoping that they wouldn't show up, right? Because they showed up, they didn't have the money to accommodate them, food and etc. So the question is, between 1997 when they got married and 2007, that 10-year period, where did that $47 million, where did that money come from?
Exactly.
And like I said,
yes,
pull the tax records. Another question is this. That's why I'm not having a love for the contractor. Well, I think it was a contractor general who was doing the statutory declarations at the time. Not sure. But that's why I don't have any love for these people. When I say I don't have any love for them, I don't have much regard for them, because here it is now, 2024. We are finding his statutory declaration and his statements
Yes.
to be controversial.
Yes.
Why wasn't this done back then? Why wasn't this done back then? Why have to take a mystic for come up and say, hey, look at what the wife said. Look at what him said.
Yes.
And then look at the statutory declaration. Why take a mystic for that? Why couldn't the people who were charged and with the responsibility and paid to conduct these things, why is it that they never find this out?
Okay.
And you know what happened? What gone by the morning can't come with the evening.
All right.
From it gone, what they said at 2007. Then everything after that bad.
Yes.
Everything after that bad. Because we still don't know where this money come from. And some was almost like the money got washed into legitimacy. Nobody looked at it and said, but wait a minute, 2007, where you get this money from? They accepted it. And so what happened now, him can say him start out with $47 million legitimately. When you look at it, you say, well, wait a minute, where did this money come from? He worked 2 years after school at a not-for-profit, now make no money, and then he worked for former Prime Minister Edward Seaga, God bless his soul. He worked for him, still not making any money because a public servant. So how you end up with 47 to start, and your wife has said, we don't have no money.
Exactly. So, but the most important thing, Ratty, is that 2 years gap, that 2 years between 1994 and 1997. Andrew Holness is saying that, you understand, he amassed $47 million. 2 years. He left, what people need to understand, Andrew Holness left university 1994. 1994, and worked 2 years for a non-profit organization, right? So 2 years would be 95, 96, and 1997, he went into politics. So then 2 years in between that, Andrew Holness amassed $47 million. That is what Andrew Holness is saying to Jamaican public. So people must take a key note in terms of what Andrew Holness is saying. Andrew Holness left university 1994, right? And venture into a non-profit organization, right? A charity organization, right? And between 1994, after leaving school, 1995 and 1996, Andrew Holness amassed $47 million. Where did Andrew Holness get that from? So if the Integrity Commission investigators are not doing investigation like this, then I don't know what they are doing. I honestly don't know what they are doing. We are going to get in more interesting stuff tonight. So now, Ratty, let me show you something. Let me show the Jamaicans as it relates to Andrew Holness being delinquent, right, with his loan without any, let us put up that so people can see the evidence that he was delinquent. So when he left, he didn't even have any money, Ratty, to pay, you understand, for his student loan. Did not have it. Yes, we are going to dig in tonight. Share it big. All right, good job on it. All right. There it is, people, in the red. Andrew M. Holness, Lot 130, Riverside Park, and some city, Spanish Town, PO, St. Catherine, for social science, UWI, Mona, right? And if you read it up, the following persons are in arrears in the repayment of their student loans at September 6, 1996. Right? September 6, 1996. Andrew Holness is in arrears. Take down that. Let us say something here, Ratty.
You catch him, man. You catch him.
Let us look into the Dracula's face. So then, in 1996, you can't pay your student loan, Mr. Holness. And 1997, you got married, but you were telling Fitz-Henley that you came into the politics with $47 million. 1996, you owed your student loan. So how is that possible? How could that be possible? So, Ratty, we wipe that one away. Evidence number one, right? I want to put it down for me, you know. Evidence number one. Was it Andrew Holness' own charity? He worked for, well, I mean. Now, so since you proved that, what I want to prove to people, and I'm going to prove here, Ratty, that from the very inception of Andrew Holness into the political space, the political system flagged Andrew Holness as corrupted. Yes. So that is something that people need to take note of. In 1997, right, when Andrew entered the political space, the political system flagged him as someone who doesn't have any integrity. We are going to show that to people, right? Without any delay, let us get into Andrew Holness' Wikipedia political career. Let us get into it. We track him down tonight. Yes. So let us, thank you. All right, let us get into the political career. All right, here it is, political career. Holness was first elected to the Jamaica Parliament in 1997. General election as the Member of Parliament for West St. Andrew representing the Jamaica Labour Party. The election in the constituency was principally between Holness and Warren Blake, representing the People's National Party. The initial result was very close, although by the end, Holness was declared the victor. The PNP lodged allegations of tampering with the constituted authority. Long-time Andrew Holness, you understand, trying to go against systems, go against laws. Part of the electoral regulation system in Jamaica. Holness was sworn in as Member of Parliament on 24 February 1998, delayed by a magisterial recount. On the 5th of March 1998, he lost the seat as the election court had ordered a re-election. In April, Blake won the election, but due to irregularities in a group of 4 polling stations at the Taylor Basic School, the GLP lodged allegations with the constituted authority who agreed to run a re-election in those polling stations. And in the ensuing re-election, Holness won and he was sworn in a second time as MP in July 1998. Take that document away. So then we talk about his appearance into the politics and the controversy that his appearance of as him, right, not being someone with integrity. Now, where we are going now, we are going to go into the art of the investigation as it relates to the integrity report, right, being submitted, and where Cliff Hughes tried to run out talking about 4 accounts. The objective, let me remind Cliff Hughes, if you are listening to me, let me remind you. The objective of the Integrity Commission investigation is to pursue illicit enrichment. The next clip that I am going to play, you are going to have an understanding of what Andrew Holness' lawyer, right, is explaining to an investigator, Zara Burton, the source of his wealth. So let me say this to you, Integrity Commission. We are talking about Andrew Holness being flagged as it relates to illicit enrichment. Bear that in mind. Andrew Holness now and his lawyer, right, they had provided a source of how they amassed the wealth. Where we are going is that you are going to see the investigator, Zara Burton, doing our investigation, people, and reveal that as it relates to what Andrew Holness stated and his lawyer stated, as it relates to mortgage, as it relates to loans. Let me say this to you, Integrity Commission investigator. There was no loans found. There was no mortgage found. So let me ask Cliff Hughes, if there is no loan found, and Andrew Holness said loans, he used loans, right, to assist him in amassing his wealth as it relates to his big house, right? Big house in Beverly Hills that he used loans, right? Supplier credit and mortgage, right? Guess what? No loans was found. No mortgage is listed. So the question confused. Where did Andrew Holness got his money? Let us play 18 Degrees North. Zara Burton, lift up that.
He became Jamaica's newest prime minister despite controversy about his big house.
Join us in a partnership for prosperity.
We uncover a trail of property purchases and ask, is Andrew Holness paying his part?
Is that why you didn't pay the property taxes on the home?
What the prime minister didn't want you to know before the election. And later, Holness sounds the warning on corruption to his new cabinet.
Corruption will not be tolerated in this government.
But does his own record raise questions when it comes to awarding public contracts?
When each side is in government, there are uncomfortable levels of awarding of contracts to persons who are either political supporters, campaign financiers, or other connected parties.
We reveal how Holness signed off on taxpayer money for a contract to his associates on this episode of 18 Degrees North.
Okay, so this is looks like an Airbnb, and it looks like people are just walking through the kitchen, the living room, and they're not any.
The right formula. That's what my bank already gives me, with Saturday banking, late opening hours, and an extra special credit card rewards.
As we focus on Caribbean stories that have global impact. We begin our show with Jamaica's newest Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. During the 2016 general elections, his house became front and center. The public, and perhaps more so the ruling People's National Party, they wanted to know why a St. Lucian company owned his house and where he got the money, since news reports had put its value at about $2 million, a figure Holness has not confirmed. After all, Holness had been a politician most of his professional life, didn't come from money, and his salary at the time was just over $60,000 each year, not counting allowances. Holness answered several of the questions asked, but we at 18 Degrees North had others. What we found was an interesting series of property purchases and an uneven playing field when it comes to personal tax matters. It also shed light on the relationship between Jamaican politicians and their associates in the awarding of public contracts. We're staying right here in Jamaica at 18 Degrees North and 77 Degrees West.
The Labour Party believe that every poor man must build his castle every poor man must build him big house. And we not grudge you for it. We are going to help you to achieve that. That is why we say education for free, health for free, and we must make the place secure so you can live and enjoy yourself.
This is the house, built on 3/4 of an acre, complete with stone-cut wall, in the exclusive Beverly Hills neighborhood just outside Kingston. It's a huge upgrade from where Jamaica's newest prime minister and then opposition leader, Andrew Holness, says he was born.
I was born in a 2-bedroom board house at 56 Cumberland Road in a Spanish town. My father is still a farmer and my mother is a retired civil servant.
Property records showed the Beverly Hills land was purchased by St. Lucian-based company AdMat Incorporated for $300,000 in 2011, 3 months before Holness became Prime Minister of Jamaica for the first time, and when he was Minister of Education. There's no mortgage listed. In a statement, Holness says he's the sole director of AdMat and a shareholder, along with his 2 sons, Adam and Matthew. Holness says he got the money from funds in his accounts at 2 of Jamaica's investment banks and used his savings, salary, loans, and credit from suppliers established through his wife, who is a real estate developer, to build the house, costing him approximately $52 million, or around $525,000 US. He says the St. Lucian structure was used for estate planning. His attorney, Patrick Bailey, says there's that, and the additional potential benefit of avoiding transfer taxes.
If the house at Beverly Hills is the only asset and he was selling it, he would simply sell the company, sell the shares. The company would have its shareholding transferred from him and his children to the new purchasers, whereas the title would remain unchanged because the new purchaser would be the owners of AdMat and be the owners of the property. So in that case, there's no transfer from one entity to another. So you save on transfer tax and stamp duties and those sorts of things.
Civil society activist Carol Narcisse says the leader of the country shouldn't be trying to avoid taxes.
Especially if you're a prime minister and you're telling your citizens that they need to conform to the regulatory environment that you have designed, that you do not think you can adhere to, because it is inimical to your interest to adhere to it, or inimical to the interest of your children's future to adhere to it, then there is a major, there's a major inconsistency there that you need to explain.
Join us in a partnership for prosperity. Let's change Jamaica for the better. Choose prosperity.
Does he own other entities in there, in AdMat?
In AdMat?
Yeah.
I think he has at least one other property in AdMat.
And where is that?
That is in somewhere in the Arcadia area. Right.
And that's considered land or also?
No, it's an apartment. Actually, he's now in the process of selling that unit. He owes suppliers, because suppliers gave him credit for the house he's building in Beverly Hills.
And source of funds for that was what?
That one, I can't recall all of those details, but I seem to remember that he has always used the house that he lives in and get loans and that sort of thing.
We checked the title for the property where Bailey says both Holness and his wife lived at the time of our interview, and found no additional loans or mortgages other than those originally taken out in 2002, when they bought the house for $7 million Jamaican dollars, around $144,000 US back then.
So you were satisfied then with the source of the funds in both cases?
Oh, absolutely. He saved in US stocks and amongst his portfolio. So he was saving, because these are savings.
Is that savings from him alone or him and his wife?
I don't know that level of personal detail. That would be. Yeah, I don't know that level
of what you know. Is there any evidence?
I know of nothing. I've known nothing else that he owns in relation to AdMat. Okay. He currently owns rather.
We checked the title for the Acadia property and found that it was indeed purchased by the same St. Lucian company, AdMat Incorporated, in 2008, again when Holness was Minister of Education. The price tag, 16 million Jamaican dollars, around $219,000 US back then, And again, no mortgage was listed. Further, we also checked whether ADMAT owned additional properties and found one more. A half-acre lot, also built in Beverly Hills on Wycliffe Close in February 2009, also when Holness was Minister of Education, price tag around 15 million Jamaican dollars, almost 173,000 US dollars, and again, no mortgage listed.
So you've never heard of this Wycliffe Close property before today?
Let me put it this way. I have never handled, and when I look at the transfer, I see the names of lawyers who I know. And he's entitled to have more than one lawyer. We all have to eat.
So all told, when it comes to properties, there's the Great House Boulevard home that Holness and his wife bought with a mortgage while Holness was a mere member of Parliament. And in the 4 years he was Minister of Education, earning the equivalent of around 60,000 US dollars per year or 90,000 with allowances, there was the Arcadia apartment, no mortgage listed. The land at Wycliffe Close in Beverly Hills, no mortgage listed. The land for the Shenstone Beverly Hills house he's building, no mortgage listed. And around 525,000 US dollars spent building the house in the 3 years after Holness's Jamaica Labour Party lost the election in 2011. Holness, through a member of his team, said he wouldn't comment on the source of funds for any of his properties before the election, but even after, he didn't. He also said he would make his financial statement public at the end of March 2016, but he didn't. Despite several calls to Juliet Holness, a property developer, chartered accountant, and newly elected member of Parliament, she didn't get back to us.
If you play piano and you have trouble coordinating your hands, then you're missing this free guide.
We will again reduce transfer taxes, stamp duties, and estate taxes.
What about property taxes?
Nobody he has to pay property tax.
At the time of our initial checks in the 2 weeks before the election, the house in Beverly Hills had an outstanding balance since 2013 on the tax administration's website. Amount about $174,000 or US $1,400 approximately. Property taxes on the Wycliffe Close land in Beverly Hills were listed as not having been paid since 2009, a total of about $175,000 or US around $1,400. And the Great House Boulevard home that he owned with his wife Juliet, that was listed as outstanding since 2014, owing Jamaicans $64,000 or about 526 US dollars. We call the tax administration to confirm. Volume is 1118.
Andrew Holness?
Yeah.
The amount is $64,000 outstanding and $50 for 2 years.
All in, Holness or his entities were listed at the time as owing almost 413,000 Jamaican dollars, around 3,400 US dollars. It wasn't clear if there were any amounts owing for the apartment at Arcadia Drive. Caroline Hay, former Deputy Director of Public Prosecution, says, in general, no leader should be backed up on their taxes. We did not ask her specifically about Holness.
No public official ought to be behind on their taxes. You are in a position when you're a public official in a position of trust, and one would imagine an example to the nation as to what values we want in positions of leadership.
Days after 18 Degrees North brought it to Holness's attention, and before the election, the tax administration's website reflected zero balances for the 2 Beverly Hills properties at Shenstone Drive and Wycliffe Close. However, taxes on the house he owns with his wife were still listed as owing as of our last check, March 18th, 2016, even as he became Prime Minister of Jamaica for a second time.
That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica.
Coming up on 18 Degrees North, too close for comfort? How Andrew Holness signed off on taxpayers' money for a contract to his associates. 18 Degrees North just uncovered a trail of property purchases linked to Jamaica's newest Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. Now see how that trail led us down another path, that of government contracts awarded to his associates.
Corruption will not be tolerated in this government.
The property at Waycliffe Close in Beverly Hills remains an open lot today. As it turns out, the owner, Andrew Holness's ADMAT Incorporated, applied to the National Environmental Planning Agency to build townhouses in 2010, but that application was turned down. Representing ADMAT in this application was one Robert Garvin.
Robert Garvin is not a director in any way, shape, or form of ADMAT.
No, man, he's not.
But why would Robert Garvin's name then appear on an application to the land development?
Because he's acting as agent, he's doing the process. That's not unusual.
According to Company's office records, Robert Garvin is or was the director of other entities affiliated with Andrew or Juliet Holness: Positive Jamaica Foundation Limited, Sunshine Mobile, West Central St. Andrew Trust Limited, Omega Bridge Finance, and the now removed Delito Taxi Service.
Who is Robert Garvin?
Garvin?
Robert Garvin.
Never met the name, never heard the name. But I do remember Positive. But I did set up Positive Jamaica, I remember that.
Right, but he's one.
Yeah.
Positive Jamaica is in part a director by Garvin.
I know he was a director of
And by the way, one more thing. What about the fact that Garvin used this address, 28 Herb McKinley?
Because this is my address. It's precisely what I'm saying. You're at 28 Herb McKinley, no?
I know. So why Robert Garvin used it and you
Because we set up the company here. Garvin, I'm not saying that. I don't remember the name.
Separately, Robert Garvin is also listed as the director of Westcon Construction, along with one Donovan Simpson. Garvin used the address 25 Dominica Drive while setting up Westcon, the same address he and Holness used when registering West Central St. Andrew Trust Limited. Government records show Westcon Construction as receiving 14 government contracts, totaling 28.5 million Jamaican dollars, or around $386,000. This was between 2006 and 2009, even as Holness or his wife shared directorships with Garvin on 4 entities. 12 of the 14 contracts were under the JLP government, with which Holness has a career-long affiliation. 9 of the 14 list 0 or only 1 tender. 10 of the 14 were granted by the Minister of Education when Andrew Holness was minister, and by the National Works Agency and Social Development Commission for work in Holness's constituency. Holness even instructed the Social Development Commission to pay Westcon Construction just under 1.5 million Jamaican dollars, or around US $21,000 back then. He signed the document himself. There was only one bidder for cleaning, bushing, and trimming of the roadways in Holness's constituency of West Central St. Andrew, and no procurement committee approval. Payment was requested by Holness December 20th, 2007, and paid promptly on the same day. When contacted in a general sense, the current Social Development Commission head, Dwayne Vernon, said, while not the norm, it is possible to have a request and payment on the same day, especially when there's a contract in place with stated payment dates. Vernon, who didn't address this contract specifically, also said, the SDC does not procure for constituencies. This is the prerogative of the MP and his or her project officer. Civil society activist Carol Narcisse says, awarding of government contracts in Jamaica has been a long-standing cause for concern.
When each side is in government, there are uncomfortable levels of awarding of contracts to persons who are either political supporters, campaign financiers, or other connected parties.
We asked Holness whether he declared his relationship with Garvin while contracts were being awarded to Westcon Construction, but he didn't get back to us. We called Garvin, but he said he couldn't talk at the time, and he didn't answer our text message. When contacted, Garvin's partner in Westcon Construction, Donovan Simpson, he tried to distance himself from the inner workings of the company.
I don't know where are these projects. I don't know how much was collected.
So you didn't benefit from these contracts, that's what you're saying?
No.
Even though his name is not on the filing, is Andrew Holness a part of this company?
No, not to my knowledge. No, man, he's not a part of it.
Do you know if Garvin is a friend of Andrew Holness?
Yes, yeah, man, they are friends. They are very close. So the two of us are friends. It's what Andrew went in politics, you know. I met him at Tiaga's office because Robert and Tiaga were very close also.
Okay.
So the first time I saw Andrew is when Robert invited me to the Seagas office in New Kingston.
We searched, but could find no record of Holness declaring his relationship with Robert Garvin or Donovan Simpson, and the Office of the Contractor General would only say that we should request an investigation, which we did. When asked in a general sense, and not about Holness specifically, Caroline Hayes says these kinds of relationships should be declared.
In the procurement rules and guidelines that I've read, there's been a concern about whether there is a connection either directly, meaning you have an interest in a company that's bidding for public assets and public benefit, or indirectly, meaning it's in the name of a wife, in the name of a girlfriend, in the name of a child, in the name of an associate. It is a duty of our staff and any other public officers and officials directly or indirectly involved in the procurement process, especially in the preparation of bidding documents, evaluation, contract negotiations, contract management, and payments, to declare any potential conflicts of interest.
Whether Holness declared his relationship with Garvin remains unclear. However, Bailey, his attorney, is adamant that all assets associated with Andrew Holness were declared.
In every case, everything that he has owned from the time that from even the time he set up ADMAT, going back to 2001, everything has been declared.
We checked with the Integrity Commission, but no one ever got back to us. Information submitted is usually confidential.
The law that governs it explicitly states that these declarations cannot be made public. And if they are made public, whoever makes them public is subject to a fine of over $1 million, right? These declarations of assets need to be brought under the ambit of the Access to Information Act so that we can request to see and be given, or given a good reason why we can't be given.
In Jamaica, breaches of the rules governing the awarding of government contracts carry a possible fine of $1,000 or around $8 and or 3 months in prison. See what happens when we try to get answers from Andrew Holness on the campaign trail.
Can you give me a sense of who Robert Garvin is?
That's next on 18 Degrees North.
It was so exciting to be a part of this Transformers film.
Jamaica's newest Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, may have wrested control from the People's National Party, in part because of his 10-point tax plan. During the election campaign, though, there were skeptics. Critics charged, how was he going to plug the millions in lost revenues in US dollar terms when his plan would essentially eliminate income tax on those earning the equivalent of around $12,000 or less? Holness's plan was to spur spending and generate more revenue from consumption tax while raising taxes on high-end earners. We caught up with Holness on the campaign trail. We asked him what else he had up his sleeve and why at the time was he listed as being behind on his property taxes.
Where is the economy going? Have you done any analysis of your tax plan and what economic growth is going to look like in your first year?
I wouldn't want to give you a specific figure.
But your analysis must have produced something that is tangible for the people to understand.
Yeah, but I didn't say I would give you that figure.
But it has produced a figure.
Of course.
Okay.
Otherwise, why would we do the analysis?
Give me a general sense of where we have on the low end and the top end.
I would say to you that if you're going to talk about economic growth, you should be above 3%.
Okay, that's a fair statement to make.
Right.
Let's talk about some of the other taxes that you, tax incentives and lower rates. And
so
I think there was mention of some transfer taxes as well.
In general, our tax plan is to reduce transaction taxes. A part of economic growth is to get the velocity of transactions increasing, and particularly in construction and real estate, because those are major employment areas. So we will bring to the levels which we had them before our transfer tax and stamp duties, and estate taxes as well.
You seem to don't like taxes too much because
absolutely. I'm a small government, free enterprise person. I believe that markets work
best, and taxes are distortionary.
Okay. Is that why you didn't pay the property taxes on the home?
No, my property taxes are paid.
On the THS website, when we did the valuation numbers for your properties, the outstanding taxes are there.
No, my taxes are paid.
When we looked, there was your Great House Boulevard property. There was your property that's owned by ADMAT, which you say you're the sole director of. And then there's another property that we actually found under ADMAT as well, up at Wycliffe Close. All three were outstanding. And then we saw that at Wycliffe Close, taxes seem to have been outstanding since 2009. What about the other property, though, at Wycliffe Close?
That I would have to check on. I mean, that's been there for a little while, so I'll have to check on. But I don't want to distract from the message.
No, but you are the person that's saying that you don't necessarily love taxes, yeah?
Yeah.
And so you are the lead. You are a leader of this country, potentially the premier leader of this country come next week. And so I'm asking you the question, as the leader of a country, do you believe that your taxes should have been more up to date than the record reflects?
But I'm saying to you, from my best recollection, I've paid my taxes. Now, if it is that they are outstanding, it's not an issue to pay them.
Okay.
I'm not hiding from taxes.
But ADMAT is designed for you to avoid potential estate taxes and transfer taxes.
No, it's designed for estate planning purposes.
For estate planning purposes, that means basically that you avoid some sort of taxes. And I'm saying, does it look good for a leader of a country?
I'm not clear that it's, when we set it up, it was never to avoid any kind of taxes. And it's not likely that I would be able to sell everything. It was set up merely as a way of holding assets. So it's a holding company. That's it. But in any event, let's be clear. Any citizen of any country is permitted. It's not illegal to establish, and many persons have.
No doubt. I'm not talking about the legality. I'm more talking about, does it look good for a leader to be trying to set up their situation so that they avoid paying tax?
No. Any company can, I think, avoid being in a situation. Look, my view on the matter is this: you should plan your estate and plan for taxes the best way possible.
You just said a while ago that you don't see a sense where you would be able to sell everything. What's everything? What's everything?
You mentioned two properties.
There's Wycliffe Close, which is an open land right now.
Look, we'll talk again.
No, one thing I wanted to ask you about.
You've gone.
Hold on, Mr. Holness. Mr. Holness, I must ask you a question. Can you give me a sense of who Robert Garvin is?
All right. So let us stop it there and get to the panel, because we are in our final two clips. So the meat of the matter, Brother Ratty and Sister Daisy, right? That the Integrity Commission investigator, right, is in pursuit of two items that we gathered there. One, the dodging of tax. Two, unexplained source of funds. Right? Those are the two items that we got from the investigation, from the investigation there, as it relates to what Zara Burton done. And what highlighted was to the fact that that clip is talking about dodging of tax and unexplained source of funds. Unexplained source of funds is that, as what the lawyer stated in terms of mortgages and loans and so forth, none of this was found, right? And so then that should be where the investigation pointed to. And now we are seeing Cliff Hughes running out with four careless bank accounts. You understand? 4 careless bank accounts. Mother and father, they are not in the subject of the investigation. They are not the subject of the investigation. Why are we talking about 4 careless bank accounts? What we are talking about We're talking about dodging of tax and Holness and source, unexplained source of funds. What say you, Ratty, on the matter?
Well, let me first say tax avoidance is perfectly legal. Tax evasion, that's something different. I think what he was trying to explain was that he was involved in tax avoidance because he said it's like a holding company, and he really didn't flesh it out because Zara is right. In essence, it's a legal way of avoiding taxes. That's what it is.
Yes.
Because if it's a holding company, that's true, but that's not the full story. Because the house that he bought using that company, if he had to buy it himself, he wouldn't have escaped, certain taxes.
Exactly.
But he reduced his taxes significantly by going through another company. And then legally he's fine, but morally he's not fine. Because how can you insist and coerce and convince the people of Jamaica that they should pay taxes, but then you go out and then you get a company formed in another country to come in and buy the house you're living in to avoid paying taxes? I mean, there's something morally wrong with that.
Okay.
All in all, I think that this shows the inefficiency. It shows the inability of the investigating departments, and I said departments because I think at the time back then they had the contractor general, which they abolished and it merged into the Integrity Commission. Both of them, they're woefully disappointing. Woefully disappointing. I mean, when you look at, there's so much here that they could go after him. And like I said, and you've said it, and Maria said it as well. We're not paying attention to the 4 accounts. That's nothing. Because you can't tell me and spend 3 years to come up with 4 accounts. So it's not it. But it just goes to show that when you have people who are not courageous, people who are afraid, people who are possibly corrupt, this is what you get. You get a situation where a prime minister can just run around and do whatever he pleases without fear of any consequence. And it's only because I think had it not been for social media, I think we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here if had it not been for social media, because it was just like a week or so ago. I was on Lonesome's program and I was saying, look, the Integrity Commission cannot deprive the Jamaican people of knowing whether or not their prime minister is a crook, whether he's involved in illegal activity. And it's not fair to him either. It's not fair to him, because if he's innocent, we need to know that, right? If he's suspected of doing these things, then charge him. But we see this foolishness. No, guess what? No, we get all kinds of distraction. We get 4 accounts over here. Then we hear, oh, they leaked the thing. Meanwhile, we're not talking about the substance.
No.
We're not talking about the substance. No, if you notice, the conversation has changed to who forget lock up, who forget investigated because Mr. Hughes has said this and that. And we said, but wait, no, we need to get the reports table. That's what we need to get. We need
Instruction. We need to see the report table. Right. Thank you, Ratty, for that. Maria, let me move to you. Right. So Ratty addressed the dodging of tax. Right. Let's say you as it relates to the unexplained source of funds.
Well, they say show me your company and tell you who you are, and to fully understand why we are where we are now, not understanding how it is his statutory declarations cannot be certified. We have to go back to 2007 when he was minister, and all the awarding of those contracts and the kickbacks that must have come from the awarding of these contracts that he was giving to his business partner, associate, whatever he wants to call him, right? And yes, it is something that has been going on for eons, but it is, I don't think it has been as blatant as we see it right now. Nobody cares. It's just like, so the thing's set. as they would say. But to listen to him talk about, you know, his taxes, as you know, Zara was talking, I like the way she set him up, you know, give him the, you know, talk to him, you know, what they say, you warm them, and then you warn them. So, you know, she reeled him in, and then he took the bait, and she was like, okay, yeah, but these taxes, notice you haven't been paying your taxes. And like Carol Narcisse said, it doesn't look good for a leader who who is responsible for crafting legislation that governs the collecting of taxes and the payment of taxes, to then turn around and be doing things to dodge these taxes. You know, it doesn't look good. It is, as you said in your opening, it is they're morally and ethically bankrupt, you know, and we are talking about the low-hanging fruit when there are more important things to be talked about. This issue with mother bank account makes no sense, because this man is a big man from long time. He's 52 years old, right? I'm sure he has. When was the last time he spoke with his father? What about his mother? How can all of a sudden, oh yes, his mother have his name on an account? It's garbage. It's garbage, when the real question that we need to be asking the Prime Minister, in light of $1.7 trillion unaccounted for, including his ministry, his office, the office of the Prime Minister, they have billions of dollars that they cannot account for. And in his office, he has 19 agencies that fall under his portfolio. So you have to ask the question, with your statutory declarations not being certified and all these money going missing and all these politicians becoming fat cats, you know, there are many discrepancies there. Where are these monies? Why can't they be accounted for? We're not getting the services. You spend the most money, but they are not there. The services are not there as proof that you spend the most money. Yet you see people who should not have certain things because their salaries could not give it to them, have these things, and then you come up, you have an investigation, an integrity commission that says, oh, we're investigating, and all of a sudden, you know, we found 4 accounts. $284,000. It doesn't make any sense. Stop dumbing down Jamaican people. Stop talking down to the Jamaican people, because that's what is happening here. And they're worried about who leaked what. There's a time and a place to deal with how the information was leaked. And it's a fact that Nationwide News Network, run by Cliff Hughes, has for a while now been getting people's information and putting it out there, i.e., Chairman James. He should be held accountable for these things. There's a time and place, and he must face a lawsuit, and he should be dragged before the parliament to ask about some of these things that he has been leaking. And as a matter of fact, he is noted for spreading misinformation and disinformation, fake news as they call it, right? You look at Granny Subaru, you look at the Gene Panton SSL story, you look at what's happening, lots of misinformation. Right? And this is the person that is out there now talking about, you know, it's only 4 accounts. How did he get it is one thing to be addressed. But the issue is the idea that a news network is focused on 4 accounts that adds up to nothing, because one, that don't even fall within the threshold of what you would investigate or declare. And another, it doesn't involve him personally. It's his parents. How does his parents' account affect him? And that's what they're focusing on. No wonder people have to turn to social media to explain and break things down and to hold their feet to the fire, because the local media that should be doing it, they are not doing it. Civic society, the churches, he does these things and gets away with them. And too many of Andrew Holness's misdeeds have gone unpunished. He's the same one who held Richard Azan, held his feet to the fire for building 6 stalls in Spalding for people who needed it in his constituency. He did not benefit 1 red cent from it. Andrew Holness, nobody knows how he gets the things that he has. His salary and whatever investment could not have given it to him in such a short period of time. When he started in politics, he had nothing. And before you know it, he's this multi-millionaire. His wife is building an $800 million project. All those things have to factor into it. And the people of Jamaica are looking on. They have broken hospitals. The man fainted at the hospital. Lick him, head him dead. Nobody cared. There are no ambulances. And here we are talking about 4 accounts. There are bigger issues here to be talked about. And we have to stop looking at the shiny object, because that's the shiny object. The substance of it is, why is Andrew Holness' statutory declarations yet to be certified? What is the problem? What is the real holdup? And if the Integrity Commission does come out and say these 4 accounts, then the Integrity Commission needs to be revamped, because that makes no sense whatsoever. None. You're muted. You're muted.
Yes. So, yes, we are in the final stage. We're going to finish with what the Integrity Commission investigators are giving their warning. Now, Maria and Ratty, the problem for me in terms of the investigation with Zara Burton is what we call, the unexplained source of funds for all those assets that Andrew Holness have. Right? During Zara Burton investigation, it has established that there is no mortgages listed, right? So then, as it relates to suppliers, credit that he said he used, mortgage, right, that he said he used, loans that he said he used, obviously, there is nothing there. So then why, and let me repeat it, Cliff Hughes is coming out with 4 accounts that has nothing to do with the critical nature of the investigation, where Andrew Holness and Juliet Holness are the subject of the investigation pertaining to illicit enrichment. So I am asking, how those 4 accounts not belonging to Andrew Holness himself, what happened to Andrew Holness' account? I am asking the question tonight. What happened to Andrew Holness' account that need to come into factor? Andrew Holness is the primary target of the investigation. So what happened to Andrew Holness' account? We need to see how transaction move to and fro out of Andrew Holness' account. Let me ask, does the Prime Minister has an account? And he must, because his salary, you understand, would automatically go to his account. You understand? So we need to see his account. You understand the activity that takes place in his account. I don't need to see how, the thing about it again, if you check as it relates to when these 4 accounts, you understand, were established, right? Were they established, right, in 2021, right? Thereabout, or, whatever time they established, how transaction move right from through those 4 accounts. But the primary subject in terms of the investigation is Andrew Holness. What happened to Andrew Holness' account? Why are we not hearing about Andrew Holness' account? Andrew, Ratty, interestingly, why are we not hearing about Andrew Holness' account, bank account? We don't want to hear about his mother account, his father's account. What happened to Andrew Holness' account? What happened to it?
I agree with you. That's where the focus should be.
The
focus shouldn't be on 4 accounts where he's the secondary on it. The focus should be on the account where he's the primary. Because, like you said, you can't still. Oh, and the other thing with the 4 accounts, if you notice, them don't tell us about the activity. Them just tell us that this is amount of money inside there. but we don't get any idea about the activity, how much money passed through. That would be interesting to find out. And then the idea that they cannot give the impression that, okay, his accounts are fine. And his accounts, we don't even know. We don't know. So bring them up, make us see them, make them fine. So, you know, there is a problem. There's a problem all the way around. Problem all the way around. And again, the Integrity Commission, they have to tighten up them belt, man. I mean, when you read the report, they have a whole bunch of fancy words and all of that. But then when you say, okay, you remember that commercial, I might have date myself now. Remember that commercial where the lady used to say, where's the beef?
Yes.
What the beef there? I had somebody tell me one time, we hear the sizzle, but we don't see the meat. You know?
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah, it's like, this is not good.
And it can't be good, Ratty, at this point in time that Andrew Holness is unable to explain his source of funds, and they want to keep up the structure now in talking about 4 accounts. And then now that the structure now move from 4 accounts to, okay, who leaked this? Like, it is Andrew Holness. It is Andrew Holness leaking, right?
No, go ahead.
Yes, I'm saying for the persons, you understand, who had gotten the information, right, as it relates to those parliamentarians, right? They are the ones who we believe leaking. They are the one who has close association with Cliff Hughes. You understand? The People's National Party does not have that close association with Cliff Hughes. Is the Jamaica Labour Party has that close association with Cliff Hughes? I mean, any breaking news, you understand, Cliff Hughes seems to be getting it. From who? From the People's National Party? Are we to say that Cliff Hughes getting the breaking news, you understand, from the People's National Party? I don't know if that is what we need to say, right? I'm sorry to cut in here, Rattigan. Go ahead.
No, you know, there's another problem. Again, I go back to the act itself, the Integrity Commission Act of 2017. What we continue to see, and we see it out with the DPP and the JCF, we don't see the cooperation and collaboration at the start of the investigation.
Yes.
And that's why we end up with the director of investigation saying, I'm going to make a recommendation for prosecution. And then you have the corruption prosecution saying, no, I'm going to decline to prosecute. All this should have been done from the moment they start with the investigation. They're supposed to be working hand in glove. In fact, I'm looking at some of the responsibilities of the director of corruption prosecution. And one of them is provide legal advice to the commission on matters concerning acts of corruption and offenses committed under this act. So the moment they say, okay, we are going to investigate the prime minister because of this, the prosecutor is supposed to be on board. It shouldn't be something where, and therefore if there's nothing, and the other thing too is that it looks like they're not working, they're not working in tandem, they're not working in harmony, because the way it's supposed to be is the prosecutor is supposed to say, okay, for this case, here are the things I'm going to need to prove, satisfy the requirements legally, so we can get a conviction. Instead, it looks like the prosecutors stand up over this and them over yasso, and them do what they want to do, and then when them senators should review it and say, no, I don't think there's enough here, I'm going to decline to prosecute. This cannot continue. You have to have the prosecutors working alongside the investigators, because if you don't, this is exactly what's going to happen. You need a prosecutor to say, listen, I need you to go out and get me these items so I can prove my case. We don't get that. What we get is declination after declination. This is after the prosecutor, because remember now, the investigator is not the prosecutor, is not the lawyer, is an investigator. So that's why you need the lawyer to come on board with him and say, listen, I know you're going to go out and interview people, you're going to subpoena records or what, but here are the things I need to prove this case. We don't see it. And that's why I'm saying, in my estimation, the Integrity Commission is a colossal failure. It's a failure not in its concept, but in its implementation and in the execution of its duties. Colossal failure. And keep in mind that this is the sole and the premier anti-corruption agency in Jamaica.
Exactly. All right. So let us go to our final document.
Yes, one thing there,
sorry,
in all of this is that SSL, how has SSL figured into this, given that he withdrew his money out of SSL and SSL is a debacle? He is the prime minister. You have the finance minister. What is his culpability in all of this? How much money did he withdraw?
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if you heard the latest report. I think it was carried by Nationwide, where they said that they didn't mention SSL. They said that he withdrew funds from a financial institution, and everything was above board, and that they had solicited the assistance of a financial forensics person from overseas, and the person came and was in Jamaica for about 6 months and said there was nothing wrong with anything that they saw. And I'm like, wait a minute, why even pay that person? Yeah, Kroll was there. Why didn't you use Kroll? Why didn't you use somebody in Jamaica? You know, this is a setup of the highest order. It's not done properly. So, I mean, we shouldn't expect any better anyway, you know, because at the rate though they're going, it's going to get worse. But again, I'm waiting for the report to come out.
All right.
I think that corruption prosecutor, I think she has, as I said, she has some explaining to do. She's got some explaining to do, because all this nonsense here is just foolishness. She's working. She should be working alongside the investigator, and she's just working in opposition to what these people are doing.
Yeah.
She should be. The reason I say this is because I've worked with prosecutors before as an investigator. And what the prosecutor does is you go over, you do a preliminary investigation, and you say, hey, prosecutor, well, you do the preliminary, you go to your supervisor says, yeah, this looks like a good case, take it across the street. You go across the street, they say, Mr. Prosecutor or Madam Prosecutor, this is what I have. They look at it, and they don't give you a blanket rejection. They say, listen, looks like a decent case. Here's what I will need. Here's what I'm going to need from you to take this to trial. And then you go from there and you work hand in glove with the person. This doesn't happen in Jamaica. And that's why they say that if you commit murder in Jamaica, you stand, I think it's like a 7 out of 10 chance that you will walk, because the evidence is going to be tampered with, protocols won't be followed, and it's going to be a paradise for a defense attorney. They're going to kill the police when they get on the stand. So it's frustrating, but the work must go on.
Exactly. All right. Well, as for me, I am somewhat reserving my opinion regarding the Integrity Commission investigators, because, as you said, Ratty, we are anticipating for the report to be tabled. Because the thing is, what we don't know, if there can be many sprung, right, to the report as it relates to what affect Andrew Holness. And Cliff Hughes is just running out, you understand, reporting on the least of might be, the least of the serious issues, right? So we don't even know that. That could be the case. There could be other serious issues that implicate Andrew Holness definitely in this report. And this is one of the reasons why I believe that, look, if there was a situation that would, free Andrew Holness from all of this, I think it would be a rush to have that report tabled. To the fact that I am seeing that they are making effort in terms of trying to use delayed tactics, right? Then I am suspecting that might be what Cliff Hughes have done is to just give you a little snippet. You understand? But really and truly, you have serious problems there relating to Andrew Holness, and that is one of the reasons why, really and truly, that they don't want to rush in, right, tabled this report. I think they are going to use delayed tactics. Delayed tactics might be anticipating until Nigel Clark even lift up, right, or so what. But guess what? We are not going to allow any delayed tactics, you understand, for them to get into a general election. And this, you understand, Andrew Holness statutory declaration, you understand, that is a problem, cannot be certified. So I am suspecting, based on what I am going to show as it relates to what the Integrity Commission is saying, I am suspecting that Cliff Hughes is only using his little manipulation tactics, right? Reporting on snippets of the report, not, you know, holistically on the report. So look what the for the final clip tonight, let us look on what the Integrity Commission is saying here. Let us look at that. Right? Because this is interesting. So we know that Cliff Hughes is not, right, all that credible. Now, so Ratty, let us, and Maria, let us look at this, what the Integrity Commission said today. For immediate release, Integrity Commission received 6-page third-party witness statement, submit same to Parliament as an addendum to its investigation report that was submitted last Thursday, September 9, 2024. In keeping with its commitment previously made to the public, the Integrity Commission wishes to advise that it has today submitted to Parliament for tabling an addendum to its report of investigation, the report that was submitted to the Parliament last Thursday, September 5th, 2024. The addendum embodies, right, a substantiating 6-page third-party witness statement that is germane to the report. It is important to record and clarify that the statement was submitted to the Commission by the witness on Friday. So we are talking about a witness on Friday, September 6, 2024 at 2:46 p.m. after the Commission had already submitted the report to Parliament for tabling on Thursday, September 5th, 2024. The substanding addendum is not meant to alter in any respect the findings, conclusions, or recommendations that are in the report. Copies of the addendum were submitted in separate envelopes on the cover of identical letters, right, addressed to the following officials. And there they are: the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, Speaker of the House, Most Honorable Uri Clark, right, Senator Tam Tavares Finson, right, Colin Lowe Clerk to the House of Parliament. The document was formally received and signed for the Parliament at 11:04 a.m. today, right? And, you know, the different gadgets that it passed on to a USB flash drive containing electronic PDF. So take that document away on it. So, Ratty and Murray, this is what I'm saying as it relates to, you know, additional witness that was sent to the Parliament. So this is telling me that it seems like something serious, right? It's there as it relates to additional witness information that passed on. So I think what we are getting, right, is a smoke screen, right, so that they can now see if they can sleep into their base, right, try to trick people, and then they try to pull out this thing, right, so just let them see. But I think that that's why I am holding back in terms of making any comment on the Integrity Commission investigators. I am wondering Sir Ratty and Marie, right, what is there? Because I know for sure that if it was something, right, in that report, right, that say, okay, all right, Andrew Holness is not culpable, I think they would rush, you understand, to have a table. That is my say. What say you, Sister Maria?
Yes, you're right on that point, because they come with drip, 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 and then people are just hanging onto the drip, drip, and realize there's a whole river come down bank to bank going on behind all of that. So we have to wait and see what the commission report really says. Because remember now, the other day when they issued, it was a preliminary. I think it was in July or earlier. I think it was in June sometime. Yeah, I think it was in June, and they said that there are two parliamentarians who were, under investigation for illicit enrichment, and everybody ran with this narrative that it's go down to two, and so so they have exonerated four. And as it turned out, two more persons were added to the six that were already there. So it was two for this current year, 23 to 24, and not from 22 to 23. So it became 8. So we have to be careful how we follow the drip drip, and not let the thing play out in due season and then go with the evidence.
Yes.
And the substance and what the report, will tell us. And I still believe that in a normal, healthy, functioning democracy, Andrew Holness would not have still been Prime Minister and leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. From the first year, his statutory declarations were not certified. And so it is now incumbent on the members of the Jamaica Labour Party to find a leader who is not as compromised as Andrew Holness, because he is the millstone around their necks. He is compromised. He is woefully unqualified to continue in that position. He doesn't have the credibility, he doesn't have the integrity, and they should do everything humanly possible to replace him. I have nothing against a healthy, functioning Jamaica Labour Party, but Andrew Holness is suspect. Andrew Holness is too corrupt, and we have to call a spade a spade.
All right. Okay, thank you for that wonderful input, Maria. For the closing, Ratty, we are asking you to close the curtain for us.
Right. Let me just say that letter, and I've just sent you something to share on the screen. Don't share it yet. Let me just talk about two things. One is the letter you just put up, right? It says that the report was submitted on the Thursday, and the 6-page witness statement came in on the Friday.
Yes.
All right. It also said that the witness statement was germane to the issues, right? However, it didn't change the conclusions, the findings, it didn't change anything. It supported what the Integrity Commission, what they submitted, it supported it. All right. First question, who is this witness? How does this witness know about this investigation? How does this witness know what to write in this investigation? I have some serious questions about that. Because remember, you go back to the 53.3 that you can't reveal this thing until it's tabled. So this witness, I would like to know who told this witness to write a statement that is germane. So I'm saying the witness knew exactly what to write. So 6 pages, not even 1 page. So it sounds like it's very detailed, like somebody tell the witness, hey, write this, which they weren't supposed to do. Somebody posed a question about what do you do if you find that the corruption prosecutor is in breach.
Yeah. What a point, Ratty. As it relates to the witness, though, what if the Integrity Commission investigation, as it relates to leads that is pertinent to the investigation that connects to him and where him has to now give, you understand, that written statement? That would be okay.
Yeah, if the witness, if they approach the witness,
exactly,
right, and the witness is seen as a subject, and so the witness is trying to clear him or herself, and they said yes. That's what I'm saying. We need to know who this witness is, because if this witness is just writing something to buttress a statement or a position, or in support of somebody else, then I'd go, wait a minute, how did you find out about this? And for 6 pages, that sounds to me like it's that sounds to me like it's detailed, and it's relevant. In fact, they went and said it's germane, but it's germane, and it doesn't alter their views, their positions, whatever they've decided. It doesn't affect it at all. So I would have more questions about that witness to say, well, is this somebody that is known to the Integrity Commission? Now, let me just, before I put that statement up, let me just say one quick thing here. I wrote to the Integrity Commission because you can write to them. I think it's under I don't remember the exact provision, but you can write to them and tell them and provide them a complaint about some things, and then they'll decide whatever they want to do. Now, I wrote to them about Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith and the violation. I wrote to them, and I said to them, listen, I have all the information. If you're interested, write me, let me know, and I'll send you everything. I'll know me no year shot fire. I'll know. So we have problems with them. But put this up, let me show this lady, the lady who, please put this up, the lady who asked that question. All right. Now, this is section 34, right? Dealing with the corruption prosecution. And I've been saying this to people over and over again, and I'll say it again tonight. The corruption prosecutor is subordinate to the DPP. What does that mean? The DPP is the supreme prosecutor in Jamaica. All the other prosecutors fall under the DPP's purview. The DPP, under the Constitution, not the Integrity Commission, but under the Constitution, has the right to start a prosecution, has the right to take over a prosecution, and has the right to terminate a prosecution. Doesn't matter who's doing the prosecuting. Doesn't matter. Constitutionally, that's the person who has the power. Now, look at this. It says right here, if the corruption prosecutor makes a decision like this one, says she's not going to prosecute the prime minister, there is something that can be done about it, but for some reason they're not doing it. And it's right here. Look at number 4. It says, without prejudice to the provisions of subsection 1A. 1A refers to the Constitution, where it delineates the power of the DPP, saying that she can start, she can take over, or she can terminate. It says, without prejudice to that, because you can't prejudice the Constitution. It says, the Director of Corruption Prosecution may, acting on his, should also say her, own volition, look at the next part of the sentence, or upon the request of the commission, do what? Request an opinion from the DPP as to whether or not to initiate criminal proceedings in respect of any matter that has been referred to him, her, under this act or any other enactment or on a point of law. So the commission can actually say to the corruption prosecutor, we need you to go and get a second opinion from the DPP. And I've been saying this, and if I say it one more time, I've said it 1,000,000 times. The commission has a role to play in this. And somehow the commission just sit down and just take it. The commission, remember now, the commission sit down, and the commission, and here's what.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going up.
Right. The commission sit down, and the commission accepted the opinion of the director of investigation, saying that he's making a recommendation for prosecution. That go before the commission, And them said, fine. And then watch the corruption prosecutor say, no, I'm not going to prosecute. And now they have, it's almost like an appeal right. They have a right to say to the corruption prosecutor, you know what? We disagree. You need to go to the DPP and get an opinion. Bring the DPP night.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the DPP night. But them just sit down there with them and fold up like, I don't know. them need people over there with a spine. Them spineless. Them not a backbone. Yeah, look, and a lot of this, right? A lot of this. What I would do, I would challenge this in court. Make a judge, make a ruling. Make a judge, make a ruling. Don't just succumb to pressure. Make a judge, make a ruling. Say, hey, you know what? You know what, corruption prosecutor? You need to take this to the DPP. And we could get the DPP on record now. Make the DPP come on record.
Yeah.
But them don't do it.
No. Yeah, and it speaks to Ratty, systematic corruption. That's what it speaks to.
Yeah.
You know, clear systematic corruption.
How can you have a provision like this? And with all of the foolishness that's going on, look, all right. Mystic, sis, look at what happened with when Westcon, when Zara Burton broke the news about Westcon, and the Integrity Commission decided to investigate. And then they made the mistake of not doing proper investigation and interviewing the Prime Minister twice, and in slip out of that. What did the corruption prosecutor say? She said there's no evidence here to prosecute the Prime Minister. And she said, however, the people who worked alongside him in the ministry, there's enough here to prosecute those people. But because of the abuse of process thing, I am not going to. No, the commission could have stepped in at that point and said, we disagree with you. Let the DPP come on the record. Because then you know what happened? No, if there's corruption, it would really be highlighted now. Bring her into the spotlight. The statute provides a role for the DPP. Bring the DPP in and them don't do it. But I don't know what else to say, Byron. The only thing we can do is educate. We can only educate the people of Jamaica, make them know, say, listen,
yes,
there are things going on here that shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen.
Yes. So true.
So my closing is that, listen, the Integrity Commission, I'm still waiting. I'm reserving complete and final judgment until I see the tabled report. However, given the history of the Integrity Commission, I won't be surprised. I really won't be surprised if the report says no prosecution. We're going to certify statutory declarations, and his wife is doing great, and she's just a fantastic businesswoman. And the illicit six and the two Confederates, they're fine. Nothing's wrong there. I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if they do that, and that is because of the history of how they conducted themselves. When you have the Integrity Commission saying, we know that some of these declarants providing their statutory declarations are claiming that their perceived ill-gotten wealth came from a dead person. But we don't have the stomach to go and investigate that. So we'll just let that continue.
Yes.
No. You know this is going on, and you say we're not going to investigate it. What does that tell you? That tells you that you should not be shocked with anything they come out with. I would love for them to come out and say, hey, we found this, we found that, and we're recommending prosecution. I don't know if they're going to do it, and that's why I'm reserving my judgment, because it's still, despite everything in the past, and this is the past is an indication of what's going to happen, I am still going to reserve my judgment and say, let's see what happens. Until then, we'll just wait.
All right. So, Sister Maria, anything for closing?
I agree wholeheartedly with what Ratty said and what you have been saying, because you look at it and you see so many things to be prosecuted and nobody seems to be willing to take up the mantle and do it.
Yeah.
And corruption now seems to be the order of the day in Jamaica, that if you are an honest person, there's no place for you in the Jamaican society. And that is rather sad and unfortunate. Every agency, ministry that you look at right now in Jamaica, there's some form of corruption that is taking place. Let nobody fool you. You go to an office to do a business. In order to get your business done, you have to pay somebody under the table. That is corruption. And it comes from the head. So if they see the Prime Minister doing all these things and getting away with it, why should the little man down the road not do it and try it too? So, and like Ricardo Backer said, corruption is normalized. Yes. And that is, it is normal. It's the way to get things in Jamaica done in Jamaica is to be corrupt. When you have ministers can be shaking people down for apartments and all them kind of thing, instead of allowing the person to go through the process of applying for their permits, getting their permits the right way. In order for them to do it, they have to shake them down and they get the permit. That's wrong. That should not be allowed. When you have people, ministers can be basically fighting against people who are speaking out against them and against their ministry because it's not working in the interest of the people, and they can do whatever they want to harm their career in whatever way, shape. It is wrong. It's corruption. No country can run like that. No country, society can be. And guess what we see now? Look at the education system. Look at the healthcare system. Look at law enforcement. Those are the things we have to look at and realize that, something has to change, because this cannot continue. It just cannot continue.
Here you go. Okay, so Lady Mystic, you must can say your two-piece. What you have to say?
Well, all I'm saying is agreeing with Mr. Rattigan that let's wait and hear what they have to say in the report. Let's keep an open mind, because as I was saying to you, I think it was yesterday, that if they had certified this report, it should have been gazetted already. And if the report was in its favor, they would have sure run out this morning and put it on every laptop that they can reach up to put it on.
Yeah.
So let's wait and see what it says, and let's hope that nobody's trying to doctor it. And as you can see, there are officers trying to set a narrative, but it's just not going to work because people are not stupid.
All right. So let me say,
there's another way them can get around this, Them just send 24 police and soldiers to Haiti.
Oh yes, we've seen that today.
Them just send 2,000 go there,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if one of them get hurt, you will see a national state of state of emergency. And then them just say, we don't have to deal with this report right now. We have other things to deal with Haiti. What?
But Rattigan, on the issue of the state of emergency, the International Council for Human Rights just talked about the Jamaican government and the use of SOEs and how it is in violation of the rights of human rights of Jamaicans.
That's the thing I've been telling everybody for the last 3-4 weeks I'm working on. I'm working on a report for them. So we shall see. We shall see.
All right. There you go.
And Wayne is doing the same thing too.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So let me say this in closing. Thank you, Sister Maria, for that. Thank you, Brother Rattigan, for passing through. As always, I really am happy to have both of you here. But let me say this to all of us Jamaicans, that in spite of what is going on, and we have, clearly seen that, there's a systematic corruption. We need to bear one thing in mind, that we have the ultimate power in our finger. And we need to anticipate for the general election. For those who needs to be enumerated, please be enumerated. Please take stock of what is happening, right? And make sure that you do the right thing in terms of voting for the People's National Party as it relates to Mark Golden, as it relates to someone who is honest. We have no evidence ever, in spite of all investigation that have been done, Mark Golding is showing up as a bright morning star. Unlike Andrew Holness, right? In place, in the middle light, and we still can't see him. He's dark, dark as evil.
An eclipse.
Right? He's an eclipse, right, to our political process. So I am saying to the people, right, that we see the apparent corruption. We see that the source of fund as it relates to Andrew Holness assets, right, is a problem. Right? Andrew Holness having difficulty in terms of explaining his source of fund. And let me remind Cliff Hughes that while you're talking about those 4 accounts, the primary drive, right, as it relates to this investigation is illicit enrichment and what Andrew Holness explained as it relates to how he amassed the wealth. Investigation going against that, right, to say that whatever he says, no mortgage found. He said he used mortgage. He said he used supplier's credit. He said he used loans. People need to understand that the investigation had clarified as it relates to Zarberton's investigation, no mortgage found. So Cliff Hughes, please, I'm asking you, don't spin. You understand? We know that your original spin doctor is supposed to be a general now, general in command as it relates to spinning, right? So please don't spin.
He's a general gigam. Mystic, always a spin.
Yes. So at the end of the day, people need to understand that the problem with what we have to deal with is Andrew Holness not able to explain his source of wealth. And that should be a problem. That is a problem and must be a problem for Andrew Holness and all his minions. Once again, thanks, Sister Maria. Thanks, Brother Rattigan.
Blessings every time and good night, everyone, and good night to everybody in the chat. Blessings all the time. Yeah, man.
To close now. All right. Yes.
Let me just remind person.
Jamaica, your voice matters now more than ever. If you're 18 or older, make sure you're enumerated and on the voters list by the 30th of September. This is your chance to shape our future. Don't let it slip away. Remember, your vote is your voice. Together, we can make the change we need. For more information, visit markgoldingja.com/voters-guide. Let's do this, Jamaica.
Amen.
All right, guys. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate everybody's contribution to the chat tonight, making it an interactive discussion. Really appreciate.
Exactly.
You know, every day, every Tuesday,
strong interaction.
Friday that you tune in.
Strong interaction. You love that.
Really appreciate the continued support and endorsement. So we are going to say good night with this as a reminder from our Prime Minister. So have a blessed and wonderful rest of the week, guys.
I know why you come to me with that foolishness, you know. You elect a prime minister, and is a prime minister run the country. It is time we learn to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses. Otherwise, go elect the people who really run in the country. And I don't want the right start that stupid argument. Hold the people you elect accountable and stop making excuses for them.
You have it.
Okay, safe travel on the gravel, guys, until Friday. Blessed up, and you'll see Baron and the Titans on Thursday.
Of course. All right.